We are going to be talking a little bit about festivals. It's been spoken about earlier this morning, Cartoon Forum, people have mentioned MIP. And what we're going to be looking into is 3 of the festivals specifically, and why the people who run them or are involved in them think they are unique and important, and if you can find a way to go, why you should go. And I will introduce the panel very briefly, and then I will ask them to talk a little tiny bit about themselves. And I don't know if your clip materialised, did it?
Yes,
it did.
It's the last one.
There you go. So there's also a little bit of something for you to look at as well. So I'll start on the other end there. That's Iain Harvey from the Illuminated Film Company. He doesn't work for Cartoon Forum, but he's a Cartoon Forum participant. So he can explain a little bit more about, as a producer, what he's gone through to get his project selected and why he, at least I hope he does, specifically think Cartoon Forum's a good thing to go to. There's Mickaël Marin there from MIFA, who runs the MIFA market and also the Annecy Animation Festival. And here I have... What?
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that good? Is that all right? I've obviously missold him. Anna Vášová. Okay, right. I've been practicing that over lunch, and clearly I've not done very well with that. As you can see, Anna runs the Visegrad Animation Forum, which I believe is now called the Visegrad Plus, or soon to be called the Visegrad Plus Animation Forum. So if I may, I will throw the mic to Iain. He's going to talk a little bit about what he does and introduce his clip.
Good afternoon, everybody. I wasn't expecting to start this because I thought we'd be leading up naturally to the forum, but I'll give you 4 numbers: 40, 20, 10, and if you take a multiple of those and knock off a few noughts, 800. The significance of those numbers will hopefully become relevant. The forum is a marvellous gathering of virtually every significant animation producer and studio, and along with broadcasters and everybody else interested in the European animation industry. It used to be peripatetic. It used to go from country to country, and we used to have marvellous parties in places ranging from Scotland to Italy to Spain. But now it is based in the simply beautiful city of Toulouse in France, which has advantages. It means, first of all, for those who are planning to go, you can plan your flights, cheap flights and hotels well in advance to avoid all the sudden increase in hike and fares when it's announced the dates for the forum. What the forum is basically an opportunity. You have a 20-minute, that's one of the figures, window in which you have an exclusive opportunity to present your project. And the first thing I should say is, you don't go there unprepared. Cartoon does have sessions to teach younger producers or less experienced producers, and there's also the cartoon breakout, which is another way of learning about the priorities of what is needed at the forum. You do not go there unprepared. You are recommended perhaps to go and have a visit. It's not cheap. It's about €1,000 plus the travel and accommodation costs. But once you're there, you'll see just how important it is as a venue. Because though there are fixed slots for the sessions of presentation of your project, which I'll come to in a minute, there's also a lot of free time as people wander from session to session. And you're basically able to capture almost anybody you want to of any significance, from the head of broadcaster Rai to the BBC team, etc., etc. So if you don't know people, this is a way to get to know people, no matter how shy or held back you are because you just don't quite know what you're doing. Don't worry about that, because that's the other thing. I always say to people that do their first talk or presentation at the forum, think of it like a wedding speech. Actually, everybody's on your side, even if you muck it up. As long as you don't tell too rude a joke. So the 20 minutes is, every session is organised in half-hour slots. And you have 20 minutes, basically, within that half hour, because we've got to move from one to the other. You have to have a clear idea what you're actually presenting. And that sounds obvious, but know what your format is. whether it's a TV series, the running time of the TV or the episodes, or if it's a half-hour special or whatever. Just be clear. It can always change later because actually you do learn from these, you get feedback, etc. But be clear with what you go in. So you present a clear-cut project with what is basically a lot of work before, and that's where the 10 comes in. I reckon you need at least 10 months of preparation, because involved in that is not only perhaps getting scripts. Not all people go with scripts. I always do personally, but that's just my choice. You also have to prepare a pilot. Now, the pilot can just be one of two things. It could be, or more. It could be a trailer, which you have to have. You have to have, and here's the other figure, 40-second trailer for what's called the croissant show. We don't eat croissants after lunch, but they do it after lunch as well, because you're either in the morning session or the afternoon's series of presentations. So at the croissant show, you have your trailer along with all the other projects being presented that morning or that afternoon, screened to an audience of over 800 people, hence the 800, the cap. It's quite overwhelming. You go into a room the size of probably a football pitch, absolutely all laid out with tables because you're having breakfast, and you might think, oh my God, what am I doing here the first time? And I think the first time when I went, even though I had actually helped set up the forum in terms of meeting it, trying to how we structured it, it still is quite an overwhelming experience. And the difference from other markets that obviously we talked about is that it's all animation and it's basically communal. At MIP or MIPCOM, you're dashing around. You may have a stand, but you're dashing around all the time trying to find the relevant people. Here, as the producer, they come to you. It's rather a nice change from the norm. The preparation, I said, needs a trailer. And I'm just going to give you an example of a trailer that I did. The trailers, you try to do two things. You're not just aiming at what will be the final audience, if it's a TV, if it's a series for young children, say, because you've got to get through the barrier of the broadcasters, the friendly barrier, hopefully. And they are often very helpful. But of course, they have considerable choice and very limited opportunities to take programs. But the trailer needs to therefore appeal to not just your future audience, but the audience in the room, 800 people. So it's a sort of a bit of a mishmash, trying to introduce the characters quickly. Think of it as like a TV commercial, selling a product. You don't worry necessarily about how it relates to the final thing. You've got to just sell, sell, sell. So we just run the trailer to give an example of what we did just a month ago, and we had quite good reactions to it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cayman. Welcome to Trickle End. I'm 5. How old are you?
Quack, quack.
Ah! Come see where I live.
Well, I was going to ask you a question. Well, number one, congratulations on that. I have to say, I actually attended that picture cartoon forum a couple of weeks ago, and Iain and his team did a fabulous job. The other thing that they do at Cartoon is they scan your badge as you go in, so the people who are doing the pitches know exactly who's been to see the show. So you can follow up afterwards. You can decide, say, well, there's a broadcaster that's been, or an investor that's been, or a distributor that's been. So you can actually then proactively go after them. Can I ask you a quick question here? Because there is a selection process for Cartoon. It's not an automatic right. So how do you go about applying, and do you know the selection process, how that works?
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, that's why I mentioned the 10 months as the minimum, because you have to apply by the end of April, approximately. And the selection process used to be more complex. You had to have co-producers, you had to have, which was fairly nominal often, but people had to do it, and you had to have at least one broadcast or distributor support. That latter item you still need, but I will make one criticism of the British broadcasters. They tend to be less helpful on this, partly because they take themselves, the BBC is obviously in a very difficult position as the national broadcaster. ITV doesn't really do it, and Channel 5 has to be very selective, and of course because it's part of Nickelodeon now, it has to even be more careful while it's sorting out its relationship. But there are other potential financiers, distributors that will make you eligible. The application form is fairly straightforward. It's basically a presentation of what you're going to present. You may not have got the material ready, but it asks you to detail, outline the project and make a clear presentation of what it's about. So any producer, even the first time, if you're taking on a project, you should know what it's about. And the process is fairly straightforward, but don't underestimate it. We put a month into it at least, just to get it right. And then there is a selection panel at Cartoon. They get roughly about 120 to 140 applications, and there's 80 selected. They try to bring in everybody, and it used to be the case everybody was in, but there is an hour, you've got to get through a gate.
You would do that, so I was taking my watch off. Thank you. Michael, if we could move on to you. Tell us a little bit about MIFA and ANOC.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank Agnieszka and Francesca for this invitation, and I didn't come alone. I come with two colleagues who work with me at CITIA, Veronique, who work with me at the MIFA, and Christelle, who organize all the meetings in ANOC. So I'm running the market called MIFA in ANOC, and in order to understand what is ANOC, you really need to know that it's more than a festival, and it's more than a market. It's a festival created in 1960, a competitive one for short, which was the first format at the festival. Short, feature, TV, added in 1985, and graduation movie. Beside the competition, we have a lot of premiere, and the big trend is that with the booming of the animation, the feature film animation production in Europe and in the world, we really increased the number of window that we provide to the feature film in ANOC. So it's premiere, it's special programming, and it's lots of event beside the selection, because we believe that screening is not enough now for a festival, or for market. Having booths is not enough. Our duty is to make the connection. As Yolanda said, animation is a community. It's a fantastic community, and our duty is to make under this community there is several communities, like the buyers, the producers, the distributors, the film commission, and our mission is to create the connection between these communities, because they need to be connected in order to get financing, in order to find a director. So that's our mission. So it's a 1 week event for the festival, 6 days, and in the middle of the week we have a 3 days market called MIFA. In order to understand what is MIFA as well, it's when you did not experience it, it's really difficult to understand, because most of the time people ask us, is it like a MIP? Is it like a forum cartoon? Is it like key screen? So it's a mix of all of that. And what is really unique is that in ANOC you have every company is involved in the creation process, production process, broadcasting and distribution process. From the smallest animation school up to Netflix and Amazon now, everybody is here, and the scale is it's more than 80 countries participating. This year we reached 9,000 attendees, professional attendees. So it's a 3 days market. So of course we have, and you will see it on the short trailer, we have booths, but beside the booths we organize and we create several concepts and several tools for producers and buyers and people who attend the market. We have a library, digital library, for people who knows MIP Junior. It's a kind of library, so you can, as a producer, you can enter a project or a finished program. no extra fee for that. We have several conferences and panels divided into 3 categories. Panels around creation, or the creation process, one more dedicated to the production process, pipeline process, and the last one, it's more business-oriented conferences. One big part of the market as well, it's recruitment. In Annecy, last June, we welcomed 2,400 animation students, and we help studios from all over the world to recruit. So we organize recruitment sessions. It was this year around 800 candidates for around 100 positions proposed by the studio. So it's a big part, and it's an important part of the market, and it's thanks to the relation with the festival. Without the festival, it's impossible for us to organize that kind of things. We create as well meetings that we call share with session. So it helps producers to listen and to understand what are the needs of investors and buyers for short TV and feature. So it's 30-minute session for 40 producers, and you can know what is the needs for TF1, France Télévisions, BBC, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. So I think that it's very useful for producer, for young producer, or even usual suspect. We have created Meet the Found. So we have a project competition since more than 15 years in Annecy. Project competition for short feature TV program and transmedia program. And in order to help project owners, we have created an event in order to make the connection between Film Commission, who has fund, and the project owner. We have created as well a concept called Meet the Programmers. So the idea is to create the meetings between Film Commission and festival programmers, in order for festival programmers to know what feature film they can expect. We have created as well what we call focus territory, in order to, and we did one with UK in 2013 with Greg Child. So the idea is to allow a territory to promote talents, funds, companies, project. So it works very well. And more recently, we have created what we call Animation du Monde, animation from the world. And the idea as well is to help talent and company from animation emerging countries. This morning we talk about the trends. One of the trends that we can observe is that we have more and more new companies producing animation in Latin America, in Asia, and in Africa. Which means that it can be new competitors, but it can be as well new opportunities for financing and new opportunities for content. So we try with Animation du Monde, it's a dedicated call for project, and then we select in different emerging countries some projects. Then we allow them to be pitched during the MIFA, and we help them to produce their project. And this year we have followed a project that we found in South Africa. Veronique went to South Africa with a small delegation a few years ago, and this project, so it's a South African project, will be co-produced by Folimage in France. So that's
fantastic.
so we have a short trailer as well. Again.
Okay. Well, just as we're Francesca is she's poised. Entry requirements for Annecy or MIFA, just very
So
briefly.
for the full Annecy experience, it's around 400 euros.
400.
Yeah, and you have access to the market, to the festival, and all the conferences, panel, keynote, masterclass that we organize.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
MIFA and Annecy is such an incredible event and only seems to get better every year. And I just hope that it continues to grow and thrive, and that we see animation over the next 30 years just expand the creative boundaries beyond our imaginations.
It's very important to be here because it's the only place that links artists, directors, producers, investors, distributors, and the whole chain of the animation industry.
Right now, as we're focused on innovation in different, animation styles and character designers, I think this is a place that brings everyone together.
And I think that's what MIFA and Annecy do so well, is bring all these people together every year in this beautiful place to have these important conversations about the future of the industry.
Always talk to international partners. A lot of the content that we have picked up over the years has come from places all over the world. And so it's very important for us to be here.
I think the most dramatic change that I noticed years ago was the move from short films to feature films.
Today, I think, and the Annecy has contributed tremendously to the position we're in today. We have over 70% of animation studios around the world using our technology, and it's thanks to shows like Annecy.
So that's another reason I guess I'm down here in Annecy, is to just see, just to get it out there that we need animators.
Donc c'est aussi un lieu de repérage de nouveaux talents, de rencontre de nouveaux univers.
Every time I get to meet new people, basically, that's kind of my souvenirs, my memory.
We want them to develop their activities. We want them to have access to the international market. We want them to succeed and to get more international, and I think it's a very good place to do that.
But here, it's a different world. Every professional comes from all around the world.
MIFA has become a meeting point. Doesn't matter where you have a project, you use MIFA as a really great excuse to come to Annecy and enjoy the festival.
Anna, if I could move on to you, tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Visegrad Plus animation.
Yes, thank you. So maybe I start with your attendance fee to MIFA is 400 euros. Well, our attendance fee is 20 euros. So that's setting the scale, okay? So those in the room who are having difficulties with money...
But I know that Key Screen it's $1,500 US dollars.
Okay. So sorry, I just needed a good entrance.
And you did.
Yeah, my name is Anna Vášová, and I'm working at Visegrad Animation Forum now, Visegrad Plus, which I'll explain, as head of series and specials. It was before TV series and specials, but now we realize that series are being done for more than television, certainly in our territory, so that's why. The thing is that Visegrad Animation Forum is actually an international association of Eastern or Central and Eastern Europe low economical power countries, that's the way you put it, where we're trying to set up a common network and a common industry to go back where we were when we were having money of the governments to do animation, which now is not a case for more than 20 years, and still the talent is there, the capacities are there, but the industry totally disappeared. So the idea was that animators from Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary, and Slovenia, to start with, established this event, which is industry part of Třeboň Animated Festival Anima. It's an international festival where you can see a lot of Eastern, but actually worldwide works. And we started to do a pitching competition. The pitching competition goes as follows. You apply online. You pay 20 euros, actually, you can be selected for a pitch. We had last year 100 applications. We're selecting 10 to 12 projects for series pitch, 10 to 12 shorts. Then you're pitching for 15 minutes in front of the other people who pitched from the other countries, plus in front of professional jury. The interesting thing about the jury, not like the Cartoon Forum, is that you have about 200 people in the room, but then you had at least 5 minutes for feedback. And the jury would be commissioners from the countries of our region or other distributors from Europe, people from web, television, different people. So directly after your pitch, you would get a very short feedback on that, and then afterwards you would have one-to-one sessions for the people who were selected. Then the people who are doing short film gain, I think the price is €2,000 for further development. The people who are pitching the series get actually la carte blanche for Cartoon Forum. So the winner from Visegrad Animation Forum is going directly to Cartoon Forum, as we heard about it. There is one more thing to it. We're also having a training before the pitch. So all the selected people have 1 day of workshops and one-to-one sessions, intensive training, discussions about the trailer, about the project with tutors. We have 2 tutors for Cartoon Forum actually, which is our cooperation with Cartoon Forum. So 2 of the, what do you call them, session leaders from Cartoon Forum would be training our people, our 10 selected projects. Yes, we are focused on Eastern and Central Europe, but we do accept pitches from all over the place. So last year we actually get 2 pitches from UK. And we've got quite a number of UK people working along, thanks to Viborg, of which you heard before, thanks to La Poudrière. We're having partnerships or at least relationships with all these countries. So that would be the big flagship of Visegrad Animation Forum. Our focus is to get all the 11 countries together. So now we're also working with Croatia. We're speaking to Baltic countries. We're speaking to the Balkans. It is a bit more difficult because they're having less production than the countries are already talked about, but still, we're moving ahead. Second thing we do is new talents compilation. So we're promoting people from our territory each year by selecting the best works from newcomers. And this would be a compilation which goes to all worldwide festivals. And the third thing which we started actually last year is a sort of lobby co-production enterprise which is called Red Bricks and which I'm leading as well, which is all about creating back industry in the country. So we're talking to film funds in our territories, we're talking to media desks in our territories, and we're trying to make it the way that the whole region will start cooperate and become actually one bigger territory, as you could see it in the Nordic countries. The first example is that we did negotiate with the film funds from the region that in 2017 they will issue a common call for minority co-production. So one person which will come to WAF might have access to different national funds. So that's this one, and yeah, one more thing I wanted to say. Okay, yeah, we are the place of creativity. I mean, the interesting thing about WAF is that you can see there really everything with moves, basically, in Eastern Europe, from Poland down to Croatia, up to Estonia. So we're a great place to go. It happens in the beginning of May, and the application starts in November, and in the beginning of January. And I have for you a trailer of this year's winner. Before that trailer, I will tell you that it's quite a nice case of international cooperation. It's a Croatian producer who has met at Viborg, Hungarian writer who works with Hungarian artists, graphical artists. They started to prepare a project together. Then they won at Visegrad, and they realized that for the preparation of Cartoon Forum, they need a real professional writer. So they made agreement with UK writer. So they're now the team of 4. And the interesting thing is that our forum is fantastic in media points because we're all these plus 10 points countries. So if you take 1.5 million people, Slovenia, plus 10 points. 5 million or 4 million people, Croatia, plus 10 points. So if you go to a place and you go around, you can gather quite a number of points.
Thank you very much. So now you've heard a little bit about three of the more important festivals that you can go to. One of the themes that came out this morning was about getting out there and meeting people and talking to people. I think it was Yolanda who said it can be a very lonely business if you don't do that. Iain, if I could come back to you with your producer's hat on, I mean, how important is going to one of these festivals to you? I mean, do you think you could have achieved some of the shows that you've done in the past without attending these?
If you gave me a travel budget to explore every city in Europe, I could happily visit Rome, Berlin, Cologne.
I'm talking about work.
Yes, that's my point. You would have to do all that travelling to get to see the broadcasters. You need the broadcast. I mean, of course, you could send it by the internet and you follow through on the internet, but there's nothing that beats one-to-one meetings, because your project isn't usually or very likely to be perfect, even in the eyes of yourself or the broadcaster, and you get feedback. That feedback you should absorb, and as I'm sure has been said before, you choose what you think is acceptable or relevant, and perhaps you try and sort of skirt around the comments that are less acceptable to you. You have to, in the end, remain as a producer. You have to have the final say, unless you're just desperate for the business. So I think every project I've got into production except my last one, which was slightly different because it was a Michael Walpurgo story, which obviously had a lot of appeal. I've been at Cartoon Forum, and I've got funding from that. When I made Little Princess, or when I started on Little Princess, of course it was a well-known book. It sold 5 million books around Europe, etc., etc. We had a very good pilot. We had a good adaptation artwork-wise. I complained to the broadcasters that it took 2 years to go from very wide acceptance at the forum to actually getting all the funding in place. And the immediate reaction from the broadcasters, this was at a sort of a closed session of producers and broadcasters looking on at forum, was that was quick. In retrospect, I suppose it was and is. I think Sarah and Duck for the BBC got going quicker. Peppa Pig took 5 years, as far as I remember. It was presented at Cartoon Forum Wales in '99. You have to be patient. You follow through, but you don't hassle. Broadcasters have, well, you can imagine. I mean, I'm not going to try and feel sorry for them, but they have a lot on their plate, and they have very few ticks they can give.
Thank you. Mike, I was going to ask you a question, because when we were having lunch, you said one of the things that's very, very important is, from a UK producer's perspective, is if you want to get a show off the ground and you want it to air on a French broadcaster or a German broadcaster, you really need to get involved with a co-production with a French co-producer who can then speak to the French broadcaster, or have some kind of connection with a German entity who will speak to the German broadcasters, because it's quite hard as a UK producer to go and pitch directly to those. You'd agree that's is that a fair comment?
It's really important, and it's why what you can find and what we can find in Annecy, or what you can find in cartoon event. What I can, in addition to what Iain said and to Yolanda, it's in Europe we are very lucky. Very, very lucky, extremely lucky to have this kind of event for the industry. And if you're a young producer, if you jump into this industry, if you want to meet buyers, if you want to meet co-producers, you can go easily to Forum Cartoon. You can go easily to MIFA or other more regional events. But we are very lucky because this industry in Europe grew thanks to that. I think really thanks to that event, because it's a place really where you can, if you're prepared, because you need to be prepared. And of course, you can survive by staying in your office. You can. But if you really want to bring your project to the screens, you need to go to that event, because it will really help you to go. And even if it takes time to produce, like 5 years or sometimes more years for some project, but it's where you can really make it.
Okay, thank you. You've all talked about being prepared and spending a lot of time putting the pitches together and everything else. Anna, for you, what would make a successful pitch for you? People have said, it's having a very good concept, but its ability to travel internationally has got to be an important part of that too, surely.
I must say that from my point of view, well, my second part is a dramaturgist, and I think the basic thing is that you need to know what you want to say and to whom you want to say it, one, and two, why should people want that? Because I think that there is always this partnership that you're trying to sell something to somebody, but that somebody needs to need it. If you're just pushing on him something he might not need, it's not working, or it's working only once. So I think that it's really this question of relationship, and the networking is fantastic opportunity for that, because you're creating out yourself a group of people who are thinking like you, who like your humor, who know what they expect from you. But I think also the preparation of which we speak here about, another very important bit is make your homework, learn who might be the people in the room and what they might like to have, because ideally you'd both like the same thing. Maybe you want to say something they want to hear. So I think that's the key thing in cooperation with big businesses and also with creators or people alike.
Thank you.
Tim talked about that this morning, but I saw many pitch at Forum Cartoon. Some people singing, playing guitar, whatever. But and as he said, and people like Didier Brunner just reading a paper. But the point is to be, and as they said this morning, to be coherent, to be coherent, and to one of the main problems that we can observe is the target. Yeah, and in terms of, sometimes you have project and pitch in front of channels and broadcasters that cannot take it. So it's great, but they don't have the place for that. So you need you need in advance to really know what is the landscape, what are the people needs, and then you can meet.
No, it's as an industry veteran, I have to confess that I went and pitched to a UK broadcaster with a really fabulous preschool show, and I did my whole pitch, and they said, "We don't do preschool anymore." So we all live and learn. In the last few minutes that we've got, you're running festivals, you're attending festivals, you're seeing people come and go. Are there new alternative to become the next current forms of financing that are coming in? I mean, we've got the traditional models of broadcaster, distributor, maybe an equity investor, something like that. But are there new people cropping up at your festivals that you weren't expecting?
We welcome 2 or 3 years ago the Amazon team to the market, and 2 years ago the Crystal for a TV program was an Amazon production, and it took me a long time to convince them to submit it for the festival session, but because they didn't really know about Annecy, but they did it and they won. And more recently we had the president of Netflix as well. It was difficult. I had to pitch in LA as well the fact that you should come to Annecy, and the girls said, "Okay, you have 30 minutes." Finally, I had 1 hour. So that, and when I get out, I said maybe she will come, and she came, and she was very surprised because she met she met producers from part of the world that she couldn't expect, like South Africa, like Latin America. So for us, it's great to have this kind of presence, because we know that it's new opportunities. We know that they are looking for content for their catalog, but we know as well that they will produce and co-produce more local content. So that's a good point for producers.
I can't be specific, but I'll say two things. First of all, be realistic. You may think it's the greatest thing in the world, your project, and you may have some support, but you've got to actually relate that to effectively a marketplace. So always have that element in your mind. But having said that, I'm one of those people who've been around long enough to being told countlessly, it was much easier last year or last decade, or it was easier in my youth. It's always easier in the past, and it's not true. You've just been hearing about Amazon and Netflix. We wouldn't have known those names 5 years ago as potential financiers. The world changes, it spins, and you have to, as it were, keep on top and have optimism and faith and determination. And good luck.
Anna, any last words on new people on the block?
Yeah, we're having fun with adult animation, actually, of which we heard earlier. So I would just say, I think animation is really a vast field, and one does not necessarily only need the sort of investment and big business way. It's also fun, and it's great creativity, and it's a great way to see the world. So yeah, I would just make a big call for creativity and having nice life while working on nice films. That's what I would wish to everyone.
That's what I'm in the business for, nice life with nice people in nice films. Thank you very much. Would you give the panel a round of applause, please? Thank you.
Thank you.